let's start. Agenda. So I just want to set the agenda, and I believe people with various backgrounds and uh, fields are right now here, and hence we are expecting different level of maturity, different level of understanding of these concepts of AI, ML, analytics, and all. So I do want to make sure that we start with the foundation first, and we go into the details. And I do want to spend some more time on the practical applications of the same, because you would get to know the theory maybe over internet a lot. However, it will be really helpful if we interact more about the use cases that we can actually apply these tools and techniques to solve business problems. So just to first of all understand what is this code, right? And we have to decode this code. The topic of the session today, from data to decisions, empowering business with analytics, machine learning, and AI. Right. So the very first question that may come to your mind is what data? Right? Like what data are we talking about, and what kind of business decisions are we talking about? Right. So it's not that the data can be used to make some decisions which are not relevant to the business, because it is in the context of a particular problem. So hence, we would also try to understand what these business decisions are, typically where data can be leveraged to make informed decisions. Then the other question comes is, what are these enablers? Like we're talking about analytics, machine learning, AI. These seem to be jargons at time, and very hyped topics. There's a lot of buzz around it, and everyone is talking about it. So we need to understand how they are differentiated, how they're related, what tools and techniques are available. Right. So without much ado, now let's try to understand the data part, right? So what are the different forms and shapes of data that you may expect a business to have, and then solve that problem for them, right? So tabular format is what we, I think, have been seeing for decades, right? So, and things have moved on. I mean, it's beyond relational databases and structured data. So you would see data in images, audio files, videos, any kind of text documents, and emails, weblogs, social media, comments, likes, dislikes, and even more, right? So, for example, sensor data, or you would also have call scripts. So, when a customer care center gets a call, what all information we get may get recorded as at the same time that also gets converted into a transcript. So that kind of data can also be leveraged by the businesses today to make much more informed decisions. So we need to first of all understand the part that data can be of any form and in any shape. And you may all be aware of the big data that used to be talked about a lot 5-6 years back, and now it has gone to a different level with a lot of usage of cloud platforms. Right. So now there is no limit as such to what kind of data, what amount of data we can use. And also there is concept of real-time analytics now. Right. So it's no longer that you do things in a batch mode. I mean, of course, there are requirements at that level as well, but industry is moving towards real-time analysis of data and any form of data. So with that, now let's try to understand what kind of decisions the businesses are supposed to make, right? And by the way, that is all dependent on what objectives these businesses have, right? These businesses can vary from industry to industry, and it need not be specific to one particular domain. So, and I'm just trying to call out first of all the key objectives that a business is supposed to meet, and accordingly the decisions are made. So just to understand the typical objectives of a profitable, or I would say profit-seeking business, would be profitability, revenue, growth, and expansion. So businesses would also keep on looking for opportunities how they can expand their, say, footprint or customer base or revenue quarter over quarter. So there are businesses that are listed, and they need to report out the numbers on the street every quarter. And if they see a decline in their financial numbers, there would be a dip in the stock prices as well. And then there's going to be a sentiment on the negative side for investors, which is going to be harmful for the growth of the business in future. So all these things are important. I mean, they look very quantitative, but they are extremely important for the sustainability of the business. And then there is the center of the business, which is customer. If the customers are not happy, and if you're not able to retain your existing customers, they are not going to be your repeatable uh, uh, patterns anymore. And then you will see that they are moving to the competition. So hence, to stay ahead of competitions, businesses also need to make sure that customers are fully satisfied and their feedbacks are taken in a constructive way. Other key objective that you would see typical business takes is innovation and differentiation. Like if there are a lot of same products in the market, then how one particular business can differentiate it from others, right? How innovatively they can think, what new offerings they can make. Again, these things are related. No single business would focus on one objective only. Then other important aspect here is the operational excellence. So how you're executing your plans. So as a key business stakeholder, you would also need to make sure that whatever plans are made in the boardroom are executed properly on ground. And for that, it requires a lot of coordination and efficiency enhancements, standardization across different departments of the business. Last but not the least, employee satisfaction and engagement. That's also of paramount importance for any business to thrive. Right? And there are other objectives as well, like corporate social responsibility. Then you have to be compliant. You have to manage the risk. But I'm just talking about few examples right now, just for giving the perspective how CROs, CXOs, CEOs, CMOs, they think. So all these objectives actually help zero it down to the specific decisions that they need to make. Now let's take a one step forward and see how these business objectives are related to different decision points. And I'm just giving you some examples. So, for example, for profitability, right? You would see an insurance company would try to understand what should be the right premium amount that I should charge to my customers for any insurance policy. This is a problem of estimation, right? If you do not estimate that premium amount correctly, it may lead to some long-term losses, right? So hence, it's extremely important to basically translate these high-level objectives into specific questions, and to solve those questions or problems, we need to apply analytics using data. So on the right hand side, I'm also trying to translate this decision point into the analytical problem so that we understand what's a kind of variety that exists in real life in terms of solving the business problems. To look at growth and expansion, right? So, and I'm talking about different industries here, just to give you the perspective that it's not related to one single domain or few select domains. So let's say there's an entertainment industry, and that industry needs to basically that firm needs to make a decision, like where should I spend my money to make sure that my new product reaches to the maximum potential clients or customers. Right? So what are the different marketing channels? First of all, they could be above the line, below the line, as in there could be TV ads, there could be digital marketing, there could be personalized emails, but all of these things lead to some kind of a cost for the business. And hence, the businesses needs to make a decision that given the current budget they have, what's the maximum ROI they can get from different channels of marketing. So which leads to a problem of optimization. So you have to very intelligently allocate your expenditure or budget to specific channels of marketing, and you can do basically media mix or market mix modeling here. So it turns into this problem of optimization of allocation of funds. If you move to the next part, which is customer satisfaction and retention, let's take an example of hospitality industry. Right. So let's say you are a restaurant owner, and then you need to make some prediction about what will be the basically likelihood of a customer to return to my restaurant and have food again, right? It could be of any industry again, but here it requires some estimation of classification problem, right? So you need to predict whether the customer is going to return or not. Now, this requires again a lot of information about that customer. It could be basically based on the historical patterns that you may have seen. It could be based on the similar customer behavior that you may have seen. So hence, again, it's an analytical problem, though it may sound simple, but it requires a lot of statistical calculation and mathematical calculations at the back end. If we go to innovation and differentiation, let's take an example of a retail industry. It could be, say, a digital, it could be physical. But if I specifically talk about digital channel, e-commerce website, question would be, how can I recommend intelligently to my customers that the customers who bought this also bought this? And it's a very common feature now, but that is the key differentiator from the, I would say, physical store, where it all depends on what product a customer picks. In fact, in a physical store also, there are a lot of opportunities to do analytics about uh, product bundling, right? What products you need to keep uh, adjacent to each other in a physical store, so that there is more likelihood of that customer to pick both the products. So this becomes a problem of discovering association, right? And it not only depends on the feature of the product, but also the characteristics of the customer who bought it. So it's a multi-dimensional problem that businesses need to solve. And similar example you can take from any OTT platform. You watch a movie and or season, and you get recommendation about a similar season or movie again, right? So as long as it's a paid subscription, probably you may not care. But let's say for every single incremental movie you need to pay, then it becomes even more difficult for the business to make sure that you get the right recommendation and make purchases. So it depends what the business model is, but it's also a very common problem to find association or correlation, or I would say linkages between products across users. Then on operational excellence, it's primarily driven by the cost reduction and efficiency gains. So here, let's take an example of a bank. Right? If a bank needs to set up basically a customer care with say around the clock, they need to understand how many resources they need to allocate at the customer care center. What is the expected hourly call volume? So this requires some kind of forecasting. So this is a different problem than estimation or predicting a category. It's a time series problem. And again, every single error is going to lead to inefficiency there. There would be call center agents who would be sitting idle without attending any calls, or there would be misses in terms of attending the calls because there are too less of agents allocated at the time you are getting the calls. So this again requires a lot of precision, and hence analytics come into play. Now let's talk about the last example, employee engagement and satisfaction. Let's say in a educational institution or for an educational institution, you need to take a call. What faculty members should I target for more proactive retention program? Now this requires some kind of segmentation, right? That what are different kind of categories of my employees where I need to focus more. If you give incentives to everyone, it will no longer be incentive, it will become an expectation. But if you need to pick and choose, then you need to do segmentation. So this is a different problem than predicting. So first of all, it's unsupervised. You are not looking at any target here. You are basically trying to create homogeneous groups of your employees, and then try to do differential treatment to them as per their value. So I'll take the questions at the end, but I believe you would have a lot of questions. But in case I am going a bit fast, do call it out so that I can slow down the pace. Okay, let's move to the next part. Now, we try to understand what kind of data we have, and we also understood that what are the different business problems that we may encounter. But what's analytics, right? When we say we are going to empower businesses using analytics, AI, and ML, then we need to understand what is analytics. Analytics is about understanding patterns in data in a systematic way to make decisions. Again, we talked about data and decisions already. Let's focus on understanding patterns in systematic way. Well, understanding patterns means it's not going to be random. Whatever information you had historically, you're going to leverage it, you're going to analyze it, and in a systematic way, in such a way, basically, that you can reproduce the results. Let's say if you create an algorithm that gives you the output on the fly, but you cannot reproduce, you cannot generalize, and you cannot apply for any new data set, then it's not going to be useful. So we have to make sure that whatever analysis we are doing, it is basically something which you can reproduce, which you can regenerate, uh, and there is a systematic way of achieving that outcome. So hence, I mean, there's a concept of random numbers, for example. You may start with a random allocation, but at the end, you need to go to the optimal allocation, and that optimal allocation needs to be more or less fixed. Uh, I mean, if you are asking some other analyst to run the analysis on the same data with same tools, the outcome should not drastically differ. So we need to keep these concepts in mind. They may look a bit theoretical at this point. We'll go to the practical applications as well. But these are the foundations that we need to keep in mind before jumping into the applications. Now, let's try to understand what are the different uh, stages of analytics. And I mean, again, this is a bit theoretical, but very important for us to understand how are these stages different from each other. So when we try to solve a problem, the typical question comes to mind is what happened. Like, I mean, okay, my customers are leaving. Okay, so I know. Okay, customers are leaving. My customer base is shrinking. Profitability is getting reduced. It may be because of reduction in revenue or increase in cost, or it may be because customers are not very happy today. So first of all, I need to understand what happened. Right? That's called descriptive analytics. But then the next part is to understand why did it happen, what caused it. Right? So that's the where we try to generate more and more insights about the problem. Right? So this descriptive analytics is super important. Otherwise, you will not know what the problem is. Right? Hence, lot of effort goes into even summarizing what has happened in your huge volume of data. But once you have that data in the right shape and format, you need to understand what led to that problem. Now, whatever has happened, but now it's important for business to be forward looking and try to understand what's going to happen in future. So unless and until you can predict future, you will not be able to do any proactive measure, right? So you will always be like, okay, this happened and now I need to fix it. But a smart business would be the one that is going to preempt these problems and try to fix these things proactively. So hence predictive analytics is extremely important. Now, once you have some kind of a prediction in place, unless and until some actionable, I would say, outcome is recommended to the business, it is not going to be useful on the implementation side. So hence, it's extremely critical to convert your model output into some actionable insights, right? So hence, prescriptive analytics come into play. Now, very recently, I would say in last few years, cognitive analytics has picked up the pace, which is more about now solving these problems, but also executing them in a human-like way. So when you interact with your customer, end user, you interact in a human-like way rather than basically just telling them that this output I got from a machine and this is what you need to live with. So that that interaction becomes extremely important, because otherwise it annoys the customers and it doesn't give them a great experience to continue business with you. So with these points in mind, I would also want to highlight a few things about the action that we need to take for each of these stages. Right? For example, for descriptive analytics, the action for an analyst or someone who is working on it would be to create reports, right? But for diagnostic, you would need to find the root cause. As I said, you need to understand what happened and why did it happen. So you need to find the root cause. In case of predictive analytics, you can probably build some statistical model. It could be financial model as well, but the point is that it could be any kind of algorithm which is going to predict things in advance, right? And for prescriptive analytics, you have to recommend the right actions to the business. Otherwise, they are not going to be able to implement your findings. Now, the last part, cognitive analytics, here AI needs to be fully leveraged, though, I mean, AI is leveraged across, but this is the area where you need to leverage the advanced forms of AI and basically make sure the customer experience improves. Now, what is the opportunity at each of these stages? When you're creating reports for descriptive analytics, the opportunity lies in making it more and more automated. If you're not able to automate, then it's going to take a lot of your time, right? So the opportunity lies here in terms of increasing the efficiency and moving up the value chain. If you automate this process, probably you will focus more on the more interesting part, which is trying to understand the reason for what happened, right? And here the opportunity lies in visualizing the data. So if you need to find the root cause, and if you continue looking at the tabular form or text form of the data, it's going to take a lot of time and energy, and even it is going to be difficult to communicate your findings to the business stakeholders. And hence, it's again very imperative for an analyst to visualize the data. This is an opportunity that you can basically untap when you are doing diagnostic analytics. Now, for predictive analytics, once you build the statistical model, the opportunity lies on keeping enhancing the accuracy of that model. So, which means that you keep on evolving the generation of the model. Let's say you start with an intuition, then you move to, say, more statistical model, and then you move to machine learning and deep learning. So, those kind of advances you can make in predictive analytics to make sure the accuracy keeps on improving. Now, when you recommend actions in prescriptive analytics, the opportunity lies in quantifying the business impact. As in, if you're not able to quantify the impact, the business will not be probably able to prioritize your findings. So whenever you're recommending some action, it needs to be associated with the corresponding business impact, so that people can understand the gravity of the situation. They can understand, okay, if I apply this solution, this is the benefit I'm going to get. So they always do cost benefit analysis before implementing any solution. So hence, any action should be accompanied with quantification of the impact. Last but not the least, when you leverage AI, the entire focus should be on improving the customer experience. If you are not able to improve the customer experience, no matter what chatbot or what kind of code assistance or any rep assistance solution you create, it is not going to be beneficial. You'll end up putting a lot of dollars into creating the solution, but it may backfire. So sometimes you may have heard AI going wrong, right? So they're discriminating based on the color of the skin or ethnicity or gender. So those biases need to be taken care of while creating this solution. So the entire focus should be on improving the customer experience while applying cognitive analytics. So again, these are certain tips and tricks. Not that you should not be focusing on accuracy while doing a cognitive analytics, but what I wanted to convey is that in each of these stages, there is a specific area which should be your primary objective. And obviously, along with that, you need to take care of all other things as well. I hope this is helpful, but let me continue. I do want to leverage the full hour optimally so that we have some time later to address the questions as well. Now we talked about analytics in detail. Let's also talk about AI ML DL, right? So there's a lot of confusion at times. Like, are these synonymous terms, or is something subset of the other? So I do want to highlight the part that this is the basic foundation I'm setting. That overall, it's a computer science field, right? Where we study computers, computational systems. So it's a field of computer science, and within that, artificial intelligence is one, I would say, one of the verticals. So where the focus is on creating those kind of methods using which you can basically perform tasks that require human mind, human intelligence. Right. So whatever you can do, let's say through your mind, if you're able to do through machine as well, that will come under artificial intelligence. And one part which we also need to keep in mind that humans are super powerful in terms of the thinking intellect. You would see artificial intelligence solutions today, they try to solve one problem at a time, but as human with same brain, with same machinery, you are able to think in multiple dimensions and solve multiple problems in a given point of time. So replicating human mind is still far off, but there are a lot of efforts going in that direction where we can go as close as to that kind of power. If you also look at say a compute power, you would always want to rely on a machine, right? For example, if you need to multiply two big numbers, you would just use a calculator rather than doing it by yourself. But wherever there's subjectivity involved, you want to keep human in the loop, and that is one of the key considerations while creating artificial intelligence solutions. We need to continue improving it. At the same time, we need to make sure that the subjectivity does not go away completely from the system. Humans should always be in the loop. There should always be some kind of review that happens, though the focus should be making it more and more refined over time. Now, if we go one level deep, so that's machine learning. Again, it's a subset of artificial intelligence. It's not synonymous. It's not parallel to artificial intelligence. It's one of the again one of the fields within artificial intelligence. And as artificial intelligence focuses on developing systems that require human intelligence, machine learning specifically focusing on developing those algorithms that can learn from themselves. Right. So if your machine is not only executing but also learning on its own, then it becomes a matter of machine learning application. And I'm trying to keep it at a very high level because sometimes these foundational things are missing, and we keep jumping into the Python libraries and whatnot, and try to say that, okay, I built a machine learning model all of a sudden, and I'm not a machine learning expert. But these foundations are extremely important for us to understand what we are working on, why we are working on these things. Right. So it also, I mean, something which does not require any explicit programming, right? So because this algorithm is self-learning in nature, it's going to improve on its own. It is going to capture the non-linearity in the data. So say 15, 20 years back, the focus was primarily on classification problems using linear regression, logistic regression. So linear regression is for continuous problems, and classification, you use logistic regression. But things have changed completely. The world has moved from linear pattern detection to non-linear pattern detection, and that too of any kind of data and form. Right? As we discussed, images, videos, audios, and whatnot, text. So all this information can be processed only with help of such powerful algorithms that we are talking about in machine learning. Now, if we go one step deep, we talked about neural network, brain, etc. So if you apply multiple layers in a neural network, then it becomes a concept of deep learning. Basically, like human brain has so many neurons. In a model also, if you can increase neurons, add layers, hidden layers, then you can improve the efficiency of the algorithm. You can improve the accuracy of the algorithm. So many complex problems, like for example, detecting face, you can just basis the images, I mean, all these social media platforms can now easily detect the face recognition, speech recognition, uh, even basically looking at any call script information and summarizing it, all requires deep learning algorithms. So it's a very important field. However, I would suggest if you're new to this, start with basics. Try to create some say tree-based algorithms first, and then move to neural networks. Okay, now let's move to the next part. Before that, by the way, now let's quickly do the recap, right? So we talked about this topic in the first place. So now we understand that data, there's a wide variety of formats that are available. The business decisions are typically driven by the business goals and objectives, right? And that may also vary by industry. Then these analytics, machine learning, and AI, these are all powerful tools. By the way, for machine learning, I mean, the concepts of supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and you can read. Uh, I can go into the details as much as you want if you have specific questions at the end. But these concepts are important for us to understand to if you're starting your career or path in the machine learning. But the part here is either you will have that target variable available in the data itself, or like I talked about customer segmentation problem where you don't have target, but you are trying to create homogeneous groups of customers of similar nature, that would be unsupervised. Similarly, reinforcement learning is a different concept from supervised and unsupervised, where you will need to basically maximize the reward. Right? So you may have heard about ADAS features in these autonomous cars. Many new cars keep on getting launched these days, and they come up with uh, I mean the automatic brakes whenever they see some person coming in front of the car. So all these are based on the signaling processing, right? So whenever there are obstructions, a signal is given, a negative signal is given, and hence the car stops, and that increases the reward. So the algorithm is based on maximizing the reward. So that's how things are set up at the back end. They may sound complex, but intuitively we need to understand first, and there are a lot of available algorithms and functions that you can easily call and I mean do all these analysis. Now let's move to the another important part. We talked about all these things: data, decisions, AI, ML, AI, analytics. But how do we empower business? And this is one of the key important, I would say, sections I would want to focus on. What are the different examples of empowering business? Because this will not be there in any textbook. We talked about this entire spectrum of descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive, and cognitive analytics. But if you also put another layer on top of it, the business objectives and priorities, let's classify them into three broad categories: automation, optimization, and innovation. Right? So by automation, I mean that whatever jobs are repeatable, if you want to make them more and more mechanical in nature and automated, that will come under this section. And it's mainly driven by speed to market and standardization objectives. So speed to market essentially means that if a particular business doesn't go to market at a pace, then competitor may come and it may lose that advantage of, say, first few players in that particular industry. So hence there is always a rat race, that who goes first, or maybe who, and sometimes businesses also strategize not to go first and they would let other people try it out and see and experience from their learnings. However, speed to market remains one of the key objectives for most of the businesses. So that is the key reason why businesses want to automate the processes. Other part is that all businesses have multiple processes, multiple functions, multiple departments, and they would want to keep standardization as at the core so that they can efficiently operate. So that's why they need to automate most of the work. Second important layer is optimization. So this basically means that you always need to do trade-offs, right? Whenever there are some critical decisions, uh, something would go better and at the cost of something else. So optimization will always be there as one of the core requirements of the business. So you have to improve accuracy and maximize profitability. Those are the key reasons why optimization is also considered. Then third, and it's very, I think, self-explanatory, but still we need to understand why businesses need to focus on innovation as well. If they keep on doing the same thing again and again, or keep on just sticking to the legacy systems, they will not be able to make any transformational change in their business, right? They may remain profitable, but they may not move from, say, X to 10X. So for transforming the businesses, innovation is extremely, extremely important. And for that reason, there are certain initiatives that are taken by, I would say, successful businesses. They invest and they make sure that those new technologies are adopted to for better customer experience and profitability. Now let's spend few minutes on understanding the different use cases in these sections. So far we have looked at the two dimensions here, right? Analytics and business. Now let's also look at the third layer, which is AI, machine learning, right? So now talk about these examples. So let's say there are a bunch of models that a particular business or institution has created. They also need to monitor those models, as in they need to understand whether the models are performing well over time. Should they continue with these models? Should they discontinue, replace them with some new models? So this requires a lot of, I would say, repeatable job, month over month, quarter over quarter. Sometimes there's daily monitoring as well, so depending on the nature of the business. So hence, ongoing model monitoring is a very important, or I would say, vast field uh, for businesses that have multiple, or I would say, a large inventory of models. So if you're able to create any plug and play API, that will be a very good use case for model monitoring automation, right? Because it basically tells you what happened, right? Why I mean, still why part is missing, but what happened, we have to make sure that and we understand that how many models are performing well, how many models need to be replaced. If we take another example of optimization under descriptive analytics, that would be customer segmentation. So we need to basically understand how different customers are behaving differently so that we can do right treatment for specific set of customers. And that requires application of clustering. Right? So if you're able to segment your customers well, you will be able to treat them better. You will be able to also, there's a concept of discriminatory pricing. So if you are, let's say, able to charge differently to different customers, it's going to be profitable for you as well as a win-win situation for customer, because customers are ready to pay for premium services. So this is just one example, but yes, customer segmentation is also one of the key areas of concern for businesses. Now, let's take an example of innovation here. So all of us use some kind of banking services. Either we have a saving account, current account, or we have credit card, or we have taken a loan. So we understand this industry. So let's say we talk about a credit card example. A customer who has credit card of a particular bank, a bank needs to understand whether this customer is going to pay on time or not. Now, bank would have its own data. Then bank would also have the bureau data, which will give this customers information about different kind of loans taken from different other banks, how that customer is performing on those loans. But then there's also availability of the bank statement itself. So if bank thinks innovatively and says that, okay, let me also try to analyze this bank statement, which is in text form, I would be able to understand what are the different inflows and outflows for that particular customers. So that's a like an innovative concept, a relatively new concept, where alternative data can be used apart from the simple EMI payment or credit card bill payment information. So that requires again some kind of analytics here. If you up the game, move towards diagnostic part, then there's a use case of anomaly detection. It could be in any industry. Let's say a manufacturing firm. You're creating bunch of units of product, and you need to understand what's causing the anomaly. First of all, you need to understand where is that anomaly. So to detect that anomaly, again, pattern recognition would be required, and there are certain algorithms that and theories that can help detect the anomalies through outlier detection. Let's take an example of marketing spend optimization. I think we already talked about it, so you understand how to think about it. There are different channels of marketing where you can invest, and then you need to see the ROI. So that requires cause and effect. Basically, it's a saying that I 50% of my spend on marketing is useless, but I don't know which 50%. So basically, here it's important to understand where I'm unnecessarily investing and where I am not investing up to the optimal level. So that optimization, that cause and effect relationship is extremely important. So you need to calculate the ROI of your investment. Then let's talk about pain point detection. This is again a very common problem that when a customer is calling up the customer care center, you get to know what their pain points are. And if you try to analyze over a particular period of time for multiple, hundreds of thousands of customers, it is going to give you the direction in which the business should improve upon. But how to do that? There are going to be call scripts, there are going to be audio recordings. So they're going to be unstructured data. There's a concept of topic modeling using NLP. Bases the keywords, and obviously a lot of analysis needs to be done in cleaning up the data through NLP techniques. But basis those keywords and topics, we should be able to understand what are the key reasons or the top reasons for pain points of customers. So that also is one of the areas where AI analytics can be applied to help businesses. Now let's move to predictive analytics. Sorry. Yeah. So in predictive analytics, let's take an example of loss calculator. So if you need to estimate losses for a particular institution, financial institution, it will require a lot of scenario-based modeling, as in what if my macroeconomic conditions change from this to that. Say COVID happened, macroeconomic conditions changed, unemployment rate changed, how it is going to impact my losses, how is my model sensitive to macroeconomic condition. That's just one example. It could be also sensitive to internal business uh, changes. So if you need to calculate the losses through a certain methodology, and you're doing it again and again, there is a way to automate it by coding all those scenarios in a particular platform. So that requires again scenario-based modeling and can increase efficiency to a large extent. Now, if you talk about fraud, and that again is varying across different industry. It could be insurance fraud. It could be, say, credit card fraud, credit card transaction fraud. It could be, say, application fraud. It could be credit abuse. There are so many examples of fraudulent activities. So if you need to detect those frauds, again, you need to basically optimize between whether you are, say, let's say credit card fraud. So you are declining a genuine transaction. If you're declining a genuine transaction, a good customer is going to be annoyed. So you need to make sure that you do not get into that situation. So hence, you need to be very accurate in detecting the genuine frauds, right? Or I would say the fraudulent cases. So their deep learning model should be applied, and there are again a lot of algorithms that exist. And fraud is also something which is evolving in nature. The fraudsters think ahead of others, so you need to be ahead of them. So hence, this requires a lot of dynamic thinking and updations of the models. On an innovation side, in predictive modeling, there's a concept of real-time analytics. So, if you are getting some kind of a customer, say someone is inquiring about a product, and if you are not able to take a real-time decision and get back to that customer, the customer may go to a competitor. So sometimes it is about customer experience, sometimes it's about targeting right customers, sometimes it is about basically making sure that you do not end up losing money. Fraud detection also is one of the example. If you need to implement your fraud detection model, you need to do that real time. So machine learning on cloud is I would say, the core enabler here, and real time decisioning uh, for say credit loan application would be the use case. Now let's talk about explainable AI. So you may have heard that machine learning is a typical black box, and I mean there are constraints. Uh, People are not that open to use. Now that's why things have changed. We're moving towards explainable AI every day. So which means that whatever decisions you are making, you should be able to transparently communicate the reason behind the same. And a typical example is, and it's a regulatory thing, by the way, that if you are declining loan to a particular customer, you are supposed to also tell the top four reasons. And that's a US regulation, by the way. So there's an adverse action notice that a bank needs to issue. And that can only happen if you know why you are declining the credit. You say that, okay, my deep learning gradient boosting machine model or neural network model told me this. It will be a regulatory issue if you're not able to explain to customer why you actually declined the credit. So hence all that needs to be translated into the right articulation to the customer. So there, when you do the segments, when you do the actions, you need to also be very clear about the rationale behind the same. Let's take an example of optimization. So whenever you allocate say credit card to a customer, you need to also assign the initial line, right? So you know that okay, it could be say 1 lakh rupee line on a credit card that a customer can use. But over time, as customer becomes older in the books, you would want to optimize that line. If the customer is not that good, you may want to reduce it. If the customer is really good, you may want to increase it so that you can increase the spend. So that exposure management, risk exposure management is extremely important. And for that, segment of one concept is applied, which means that the line should not be only specific, I mean, not specific to geography or a particular section of population. For every single customer, there should be a way to define or optimize the credit limit. So that's an example of optimization and in predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. Now let's move to the innovation part. So reopening framework is something which is more prevalent now, given COVID, then bank failures, then auto industry not doing that well in the past. So due to such events, uh, I mean, the businesses want to also understand what should they do, how should they plan in advance. Is the recession coming or not? If the recession is going to be there, how soon the economy is going to be reopened. So for that, some frameworks are required, and there exists no prior frameworks, by the way, because these recessions are always innovative in nature by themselves. So the solutions need to be innovative in the same way. So that requires some kind of an extra thinking. You cannot use any existing framework, and you need to basically adapt to the existing situation and come up with a solution. Now let's talk about cognitive analytics, where you need to interact with the customer more like a human, though your solutions are driven by machines. So debt collection is a good example for automation. So debt collection means, let's say customer has taken credit loan, say any kind of loan, uh, and you need to collect it back, and they're not paying. So you need to send reminders to customers. the frequency of reminder, the tone of those messages, that all can be automated through the concept of reinforcement learning. Uh, so this is a very good example of how you can automate the entire process of debt collection, because it's a very painful thing to call up your customer and basically keep on following up. So if you're able to do that intelligently through reinforcement learning, it's a great use case. Optimization, offer optimization is something which can be done. Recommendation engine we talked about. People who bought this also bought this is an example of recommendation engine. So you can optimize your offers accordingly, and hence cognitive analytics can be very aptly applied here. Then basically it increases the take rate and it also improves the customer experience. On innovative side, you may have heard about a lot these days about Chat GPT and similar large language models. So that's a new thing that you would see, and it's actually not that new. It has become more popular now, but large language models have been there in the system for quite some time. So generative AI, contextual chatbot, there are some examples, and I think all of you must be familiar with it. So I don't need to go into details. But yeah, this is also one of the key use cases these days. Now, in the interest of time, let me quickly jump to the next slides very fast. Way forward. So whatever we talked about is basically more from business perspective, how to apply AI, ML, and analytics in solving business problems. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we are doing it responsibly. There are a lot of, I would say, negative effects also of blindly following AI. So, and there are financial penalties, there are regulatory requirements, there are ethical things that you have to obviously take care of. So you would not want to run a business by basically harming others. So fairness is one of the key concepts. So whenever you are training data, you need to make sure that you are making it based on the representative sample and not biasing it towards a specific section. Transparency and explainability, we talked about that whenever you are taking some action, you need to communicate why you are doing that. So the decisions of AI models need to be communicated in a very transparent and explainable way. Then, of course, there's a lot of data and you're keeping it in cloud. There are a lot of, I would say, transformations happened over time from on-prem to cloud-based. Then how we are using that data. Since there's a lot of information, people don't get to see how the data is getting used. So you need to ask for consent while using the data. For example, when we are recording this session, someone asked me, can I record it? So that's because they want to make sure that we are protecting the rights of customers or users. So robustness and reliability. So that's again an important part. So the output should be something which is homogeneous in terms of treatment to similar people. It should not be that when you are running the same system, it is giving you errors. So it needs to be reliable. It should be something which you can depend upon while executing in real life. Fifth important part is human-centered design, which means that humans should always be at the center, should always be in the loop. The objective is not to replace human. The objective is to make sure that human job become easier and humans can focus more on high-end jobs or high-end things which require a lot more subjectivity and thinking. Ethical decision making, very similar to being fair, but there is a concept of being consciously correct. Plus, there should be regulatory requirements of each geography and industry. So all those things need to be kept in mind while making decisions. And lastly, collaboration and accountability. So it's not just that we need to maximize profitability all the time. We have to also make sure that whatever the AI analytics community is doing, it's in the interest of the society. And that's why you see most of the codes get are available in open source because it's in the interest of the society and not for only maximizing profitability of one particular organization. So all these things we need to keep in mind while applying AI. Quickly, whenever the businesses evaluate any new initiatives, what things they need to keep in mind. So they need to know the key trends. And it's important for you to understand because either you will be a business decision maker or you will go to business to get go ahead on your initiative about AI and machine learning. So then you need to also estimate the market size and ROI. So if you are thinking of a new idea and you don't have any idea whether uh, the market is big or not, whether you are able to generate reasonable returns or not, your business case will not go through. So that's another important aspect. And these are all sequential things. You need to know the trends, you need to know the market size, you need to analyze the competitors, how many players exist in the market, how successful or not so successful they are, so that you know that what are their shortcomings and you should not repeat those mistakes. Then there should be a clear roadmap for your solution. Like what are you going to do in phase one, phase two, phase three, and so on, and should not be like a point in time thinking when you are looking for building a new solution. And when a feasibility check is extremely important, and whatever you're thinking should not be just a wish list. There should be a proper solution architecture in mind, and for that you may need to interact with the technology team and design a feasible solution. And finally, you need to build the right team to do it. Don't push those people who do not understand things. So you have to hire right people, or you have to also make sure that the existing team members get upskilled. So that you can go with the right business case for to your business stakeholders. Lastly, this is the last page. Keep pushing the envelope. There are different dimensions. For example, data. As data has moved from structured way to unstructured format, and now there's any kind of format you can use. Uh, so things may change even further. So you have to keep in mind that it's an ever evolving industry. Technology also has drastically changed from on-prem infrastructure preferences to cloud. In between, there used to be big data, parallel processing, distributed file system, etc. So that is still there, but I'm saying that also was a stage where people solve the problem of big data by doing parallel processing. But now everything is on cloud. Now, another important aspect is modeling. So, from traditional generalized linear models, people have moved to black box non-linear machine learning models, and now to responsible AI. So, it should not be actually black box anymore. You have to make sure that you are able to explain the solution. Strategy wise, also earlier it used to be very intuitive, rule based. Then people started making some tailor made solution, but now we all talk about plug-in ready and accelerated solutions so that businesses can quickly leverage these strategies and do not have to wait. And lastly, when we are talking about customers, so one size fits all used to be the approach, but now things have changed from single solution to segmented solutions. Now we are talking about hyper localization. So for every single customer, there should be a customized solution. So that is, I just wanted to highlight today and conclude here.
So before we move to quiz, there quickly we'll just take these three questions with very quick answers. So Varun, if you can take it. So Sanchita was asking, what trends and developments do you see shaping the analytics industry in coming years, and how can aspiring professionals prepare for them?
See, there are three key trends. One is data. It's what the amount of data, variety of data that you see. Then more and more adaptability to using analytics and AI. That's another trend that everyone wants to leverage the tools rather than just going with intuitions. And third is basically the scalability and digitization. So with COVID, I mean, I think with or without COVID, I mean, things would have changed in this direction only. But it's just that things have accelerated in the last few years now, because most of the people, businesses have moved from say physical to digital solutions. So these are the key trends. And if you need to grow in this particular field, I would say just make sure that you are always updated. These days, generative AI is being talked about a lot. Probably this is the initial stage of it. So if you get a chance to learn something from some say, free courses or paid courses, please go ahead. Make sure that you're aware of these concepts.
Yeah, so basically, like next two questions are what you have ended to, like what skills or qualification or any course. So as you mentioned, so I think so we have answered the both the questions, I think, right, Varun? Or
Yeah,
anything you wish to add?
yeah. So someone is asking about a career in analytics at a leadership level. For
Oh,
yeah, for leadership level, I would say again there are multiple ways to get to that. For becoming an analytics leader, you need to know a little bit of statistics, little bit of technology, and little bit of business, right? So it's a combination of all. So it depends on your background. Let's say you're a very good coder, and you understand engineering, coding, all that, but you don't understand statistics. So it's important that you start learning statistics as well, applying it in some way and form. And if you're applying it without thinking about the business objective, then your industry knowledge will be lacking. So that again something which you need to do on top of statistics and coding. So all three need to be there, and you are better judge of where you are today and what you need to focus on more.